Don't Depend on Daddy is an unfiltered safe space, empowering young professionals to build independence in their 20s and beyond, whether it be personal, professional, or financial. Regardless of your age, relationship status, or job title, the most consistent person in your life is you. So join me and let's build our independence together. Enjoy! Hello and welcome back to Don't Depend on Daddy, the podcast. My name's Michela. I am your host. I'm super excited for today's episode because I'm going to be sharing some daily non-negotiable micro habits that make my life better because it's spring. I think we're all rethinking our routine. So hopefully this gives you a little bit of inspo of some smaller things that you can do to improve your quality of life. Before we get into it, let's run through some very quick housekeeping. So as always, I'm going to give you the product spiel. My brand new fire template is available. So if you are interested in mapping out your plan to becoming financially independent or work optional at some point before traditional retirement age, highly recommend you check out that sheet. I have a whole video tour, a whole page that goes through everything you need to know, answers all of the questions about that template. So make sure you go give that a look if that is something that's of interest to you. Second is that you can always get $10 off the personal finance dashboard using the code podcast1. If you ever have any issues with that code, just send me an email. I'm happy to help you out. And third, my new, but not brand new, because my fire template is the most brand new, but my new budgeting template as of this year is called the Basic Budgeting Template. And it is a very highly requested, simplified budgeting spreadsheet that will give you a monthly snapshot. It'll help you track your expenses and get into the habit of tracking your expenses, setting goals, tracking your progress, and all of that. So if you are interested in getting started on your financial journey, I recommend you go check that out. I also have an updated personal finance starter kit. I'll make sure that that is all in the show notes, but I'm in the process of updating all of my free guides because I moved to a new email subscription. And I also just want to make them a little bit better. So if you've downloaded any of my free guides in the past, I'm going to start uploading or putting the links to the ones that are updated in the description as well going forward. So check those out if you are interested. Last thing here is to come join me over on my personal social media page. So I rebranded the Don't Depend on Daddy podcast page to be Michela_Alaka with 2 A's. It's my personal socials. I'm treating it as sort of like my little side hustle, but I'm posting there every day all about wellness, skincare, what I'm eating, recipes, outfits, things I'm wearing, all my outfit repeaters and everything. So come join the fun over there if you're interested in a little bit of lifestyle content. I'm also sharing routines and stuff and BTS of my business and all that kind of stuff. So that is where that fun content will live. Anyways, let's get into the episode. So my goal in 2025, I have a lot of goals in 2025, but one of my big goals in 2025 is to really fall in love with the day-to-day of my life and romanticize my life. I feel like during my time in LA, I sort of fell perpetually into a few funks. I look back on a lot of my content and I feel like every 3 to 4 months I was like, I've just been in a funk, I'm getting out of a funk. And I think it just had to do a lot with my environment. I've noticed now that my environment has changed. I feel palpably, invisibly better in every way, sense, or form. But part of finding joy and falling in love with your life is finding joy in your routines and adding a little something special to what you do daily. And something special doesn't necessarily have to cost any money, but it's just thinking about your routines and thinking about your habits from a little bit of a different lens. So over the course of Q1, I was really in my embracing winter era, and my focus was my routines and settling into my space here in Chicago, getting comfortable with my neighborhood and catching my bearings, and really just trying to start to find my way, because I think getting settled into a new city takes 6 months. It definitely doesn't happen right away. I feel a lot more comfortable here now. I feel like I know what's going on. I feel like I have friends. I've started to date a little bit. I'm just feeling like I am making progress. And a big way to make progress in your life is to make sure your personal life and your habits and routines are all in place. I find that when I'm feeling good in my routine, I have a lot more mental energy and mental space to expand outside of my space, if that makes sense. So through that, and through really focusing on my routines, I've found a lot of peace in my day to day. I think A big thing I've noticed just since moving to Chicago is I feel a lot less hopeless about my future in my life. In LA, I was feeling very hopeless. Where here, I feel like I've re-fallen in love with my life. I love my routines. I love my apartment. I wish it was a little bigger, but we're making it work. I love spending time alone. And getting to this point has really been a result of just adding a little bit of spark into my routines, switching things up and being genuinely being really, really consistent. So today I'm going to be sharing 5 micro habits that I've added into my day-to-day that really just make a difference in how I feel about myself. And there's no theme to these. They cover like all different pillars of my life. So there's a little bit of routine, there's a little bit of self-care, there's a little bit of business. So let's just get right into it. So the first thing is romanticizing my coffee machine, which unless you're like brand new to my podcast, you already know this. My coffee routine is my daily crutch. Like it is arguably to me, this is why it's number 1 on the list, the most important part of my day. And I basically go to bed thinking about my coffee. My day starts when I make my coffee. It's essential, and I prefer to make it at home. Like I like making my coffee at home more than I like going out for coffee. I have a Breville Barista Express. I order my beans special from Cafe Luxe. Really, really, really important to make sure that you're getting good beans. And I really spend the time in the morning to make my coffee. I don't rush the process. I've slowed down the process. So in LA, usually when I was making my coffee, I was also recording a TikTok. I had like a coffee chats kind of series going on last year. That was to find a new way to get back on TikTok a little bit in a different way, add a little spark into my content. And here, the way my coffee machine is set up, that just doesn't really work because the lighting over there is not set up that way. However, because I'm not recording TikToks with my coffee anymore, I'm kind of just that is my 2 to 3 minutes in the morning where I'm breathing, I'm focused on slowing down, and it feels really good. I've made a few videos about the Breville, the cost and the cost efficiency of it all on TikTok and Instagram. And I've compared it to an espresso machine. And a lot of people have replied saying oh, well, the Breville takes too long. I use an espresso for the convenience. And I totally understand that argument, especially if you don't have a Breville and you've never used it before. But making your coffee with the Breville, it only takes 2 minutes. It does not take an extenuous, arduous period of time. But those 2 minutes to me are my moment of peace. I'm literally every morning I open the bag of coffee beans and I smell them. They smell so good. I go through my couple step process. I sit down and I drink my coffee. And I've been trying to drink my coffee. I don't do this every day, but I've been trying to drink my coffee on the couch, reading a book, and just giving myself a couple of minutes to wake up. I don't force myself to do anything before I have my coffee. This is another thing. I see a lot of this language and conversation on TikTok of every morning I wait an hour and I do my workout and I do all of these things before I have my coffee. I think that's great if that works for you. But for me, I don't want to do all of that. I just want to have my coffee in peace and I don't want to feel badly about it. And letting myself do that has really been so lovely and nice. So highly recommend just letting yourself have your coffee. I drink a little bit of water before, but I have coffee on an empty stomach. I've lived to tell the tale. It's totally fine. And it really has made me enjoy my mornings and get into my morning routine. So coffee, number 1, hands down, could not recommend the Breville Barista Express enough. I think it's my most favorite purchase of my 20s. I am thinking about doing a whole episode on all of my favorite purchases of my 20s. I'm thinking because my birthday's in July, June is probably going to be the month where I do top lessons, top favorites, etc. of my 20s. So stay tuned for that. Moving on to number 2 is my daily content hour. So this is generally the very first thing I do for my workday. So if you didn't know, I make content full time. That's my job, is running Break Your Budget, making this podcast, making YouTube videos, a newsletter, the whole spiel. This is my full-time job. It has been for just about 3 years. 3 years, I think, on the day that this episode is going up, which is kind of crazy. So what I have found over the last 3 to 6 months is that having a dedicated slot of time in the morning to go through all the steps of posting my content across all of the different pages where I have a presence and just sort of checking the box one by one by one and making that more of a system has made the biggest difference in starting the actual workday with a clear head. I never want to complain ever about my job because I love doing this. I hope to do it for a long time. But one thing about content creation is that it's very jumbled in the brain, if that makes sense. Because for example, I run 2 Instagram pages. Everything I post on my Break Your Budget Instagram has to get reposted to YouTube Shorts, to TikTok, to LinkedIn. And then I also have my personal page where I'm reposting some of that also to TikTok and YouTube and LinkedIn. And it has become kind of confusing. And so having this systematized period of time where I can sit down, I have a checklist on my Notion and I go one by one by one by one. It takes me, I call it my daily content hour. It takes me about 25 minutes. It's not usually a full hour, but I'll also use the rest of that time to plan out my day, put together my schedule of these are my most important tasks for the day, respond to comments, respond to DMs, engage with people who are engaging with me, and just set the tone for the day of okay, I've got my stuff posted. I can move on to the actual projects and work that I need to do today. And basically what this system and curating this system has done is it ensures that I get an important task for the day done right away. So I'm starting the day with a little bit of motivation and then I can pivot. So no matter what you do for your job, I highly recommend coming up with some sort of system in the morning for how you turn on. So maybe that could be the first hour of your day is cleaning out your email inbox and writing out your to-do and planning out how you're going to structure your work for the day. Really simple, but makes such a big difference. Or let's say you also make content and you work a 9-to-5 job. The first hour of your workday could be 15 minutes posting your content and then 15 to 20 minutes pivoting to your 9-to-5 job so that you can stay structured, stay on task during the day, but also be sure that you're capturing content for whatever you need, right? So having a structured time block right at the onset of the day, it makes a big difference. It's helped a lot with my productivity. I go into this in a little bit more detail in an episode from a few weeks ago, all about time management. Highly recommend you listen to that if you just need to get more organized with how you manage your time. Moving on to number 3, I recently got, it's right here, a to-do list notepad for figuring out my filming and content capturing plans for the day. If you were to go back and listen to some of my podcast episodes from earlier this year, you'll laugh because one of my big rules for myself is that I don't buy paper planners, I don't buy notebooks, I don't buy to-do lists, I do everything digitally. I actually also recently bought a notebook. I don't use this as much as I use this little to-do list. Both of these are from Target. They're on my LTK. But I basically swore off paper planners, and I want to normalize changing your mind because I have been a little bit overwhelmed the last few weeks as I've started to change my content a little bit. So my Break Your Budget page is largely staying the same, but I'm adding in this personal page. I'm doing YouTube and podcasts every week. It's a lot of work. Again, I don't want to complain, but it just requires a certain level of diligence and attention and organization to make sure that I'm not repeating topics. I'm, organized. The videos are good. The episodes are good and organized and well thought through. The content is getting up. I post content on both pages every day. So that's 14 original pieces of social media content per week minimally. And that's not including things that I just riff off on TikTok. So what this has done for me is it has allowed me to just feel a lot more put together when it comes to my content planning and sort of brain dump. Okay, it's the beginning of the day. What do I need to capture today or this week? What's on my to-do list for editing? What B-roll do I need to get? And it has made the biggest difference in my content creation. I don't really use this to-do list at all for planning, but it's just made it easier for me to map everything out. And it makes the mundane part of this job, which actually is the planning and the strategy, feel a little bit more interesting and just organized. So if you are someone who struggles with certain tasks or certain parts of your workday that seem to be or feel really overwhelming, try mixing up your to-do list, because sometimes a new notepad, a new organizational system is all the doctor ordered for repivoting how you think about something and your focus. And you kind of never know what system is going to work for you until you actually do it. There is just something about sitting down at my desk, pulling out my notepad, putting pen to paper, and actually writing out my list. Because I'm so structured in my digital planning and my Notion, and like that's really the back end system for keeping my business overarchingly organized. But pulling some of that off onto a paper to-do list, it's just different. Okay. I can't even describe it. So really been enjoying this. It makes me feel like I have my life together, and yeah, highly recommend. And I specifically like this to-do list. I'll tell you why, because it has like the long to-do list on the left. It has a place for you to put the date. And then over on the right side, it has top priorities, which I'm super passionate about MIT's most important tasks. What are the things that must get done today? Don't forget. So quick little reminders, and then, just a small space for notes. I use just like this list on the left the most, but what I do like about having separate spaces for priorities and like reminders is just as things come up throughout the day, I have an organized way to capture it. And then at the end of the day, when I'm wrapping up and going through my shutdown routine, I'm looking at this to-do list to see, okay, what do I need to carry over to tomorrow? Were there any quick things that I can get done before I sign off for the day? It makes the biggest difference. And when we're thinking about micro habits, sometimes it's these smaller systems you're doing daily that impact how your day and your productivity and everything actually comes to be. Moving on to number 4, a long walk. I'm not sure if this counts as a micro habit, but I'm counting it anyways. The one thing I'm always going to do is get my steps in. I don't care if it's 2 degrees outside. I don't care if it's 1,000 degrees outside. I don't care if it's dark outside. I'll get on the treadmill. I am getting my steps in. Through hell or high water, I'm getting my 4 miles in minimum. I walk 4 miles a day minimum. I'd like to do more. Sometimes I just don't have the time. Like I said, I've been busy lately, and like I've kind of been a little bit scattered, but no matter what, I'll be walking 4 miles, whether it be outside on the lake, through the streets of Chicago, or on the treadmill in my gym. I'm getting those 4 miles in. I fit this in just like any other work priority, and I like to in the morning schedule it into my day. So it just depends on what my schedule looks like for the day. So like, for example, today it's Monday. I'm doing a block of filming. So I needed to like put an outfit on, put a little makeup on. I have calls in the afternoon. So my walk is at the end of the day. Tomorrow, I'm doing a Pilates class in the evening. So I'll probably do my walk at like the lunch hour in the middle of the day. I don't have too much filming I need to do tomorrow. So it's just a matter of where it fits. But I make sure that I leave the time to fit that into the day so that I am not like getting to be 7 p.m. and I'm like, well, I didn't exercise today. I am always getting my walk in. And I think treating your walk, the micro habit of this is treating your walk as if it's any other high level work priority that has to get done that day. Walking has changed my life. It's changed my body composition. It helps me feel grounded. It helps me clear my mind. I use it to disconnect. Sometimes I listen to music if I just want to like vibe out for an hour. Other times I'll listen to a podcast if there's a podcast that interests me. I have a few podcasts on rotation that I like. I like the Dream Bigger podcast by Sif Hader. I like the Wellness Process, sometimes not all the time. That's by Eliz Andres. I like the Skinny Confidential, depending on the guest. I do like Lauren Bostic's solo episodes. I know that some people find her to be controversial, but I personally like her. I like the Working Hard, Hardly Working podcast. I haven't really been listening to Mel Robbins as of late, but I like that podcast. Occasionally, again, depending on the topic. Sometimes I just feel like she's yelling at me, so it just depends on my mood. But yeah, if I'm feeling like really good, I'll listen to a podcast, but a lot of times I'm just listening to my day list on Spotify. I think, there's a lot of pressure to habit stack, which I am team habit stack. I love making sure I'm optimizing my time, but another layer of like the micro habit of it all is I think relinquishing a lot of guilt around time and like not necessarily making every single moment of every single day the most productive of all. Like sometimes I just want to walk and listen to nothing, or like I want to listen to my songs and like feel something. And so I'll do that and I'll let myself do that. I don't have to listen to a podcast, but the long walk is really, really, really important to me. and I will always be getting it in no matter what. And the last thing here, this is probably going to be also a no surprise if you've been listening to the pod for a while. And if you haven't, you'll hopefully like this. But it's taking the extra 10 minutes for my evening self-care routine. So a big theme for me, so I have my goals of the year, but then I have like the overarching themes. A big theme for me in 2025 and hopefully forever is taking the extra 10 minutes in all aspects of my life. So this is specifically focused on like taking the extra 10 minutes for my appearance, brushing my hair, putting a little makeup on, getting dressed in the morning, but also taking the extra 10 minutes for self-care. And I feel like taking the extra 10 minutes for self-care makes taking the extra 10 minutes for everything else a lot easier. I would say that the 10-minute kind of rule is really focused on routines. So, in the morning, again, like I just mentioned, that's putting a little bit of makeup on, getting dressed, putting myself together for the day. But largely, it's focused on my evening routine because historically, my evening routine is where I have a tendency to cut corners just because it's like the end of the day, I'm tired. I want to rush through it so that I can sit on the couch and like veg for a minute. So this winter especially, I've been taking the extra 10 minutes for my evening self-care, and like 10 minutes in the grand scheme of your evening, it really doesn't make all that much of a difference, and it does make me feel so much better. So what does this look like? I'll spend a little bit of extra time in the shower, shaving my legs. I shave my legs a lot more now for no other reason than like having clean shaved legs just feels good. Like it feels good when you get in bed. It feels good when you're wearing shorts. Like it just feels nice to have smooth legs. So, yes, it takes an extra minute or two. I have one of those razors that has like the shaving, gels or whatever mixed into it. So it's not as cumbersome on the day to day. And it just feels good. So like I do that. I have a pumice stone for my feet. I get really dry skin on my feet. So like every day in the shower, I just rub that on my big toes and like my heels and stuff. And it helps a lot with keeping my feet nice and clean and smooth. I'll make sure that I wash my face thoroughly in the shower, 60 seconds at least. And then I'll also take it down my neck, my shoulders, and my back so that I'm not getting any bumps or anything. I have nice smooth skin on my chest. And it just makes a huge difference in how you feel. Like, do not underestimate the value of spending 5 extra minutes on your self-care in the shower, because if you have nice, clean, refreshed skin and you're feeling nice and smooth, and then I get out of the shower, and every day out of the shower, this is a newer thing for me over, the last 6 months, I never used to do this, is I have a body lotion. I just got one from Trader Joe's, the cocoa butter body lotion, so nice and thick. I put it on my legs, I put it on my feet, I put socks on so that it like all, locks in. I have the Polish Choice Clear Spray, so I'll spray that on my neck and chest. I let it sit in. I put my robe on. I go lay and I'll do my red light face mask. And then after that, I do my full skincare routine. I also have an AHA lotion I use on my chest. It's helped keep my chest nice and like even and smooth, which as you get older is really important to avoid getting like really crepey skin. And I just go to bed feeling so good. I swear it helps with sleep. Like I get into my nice comfy bed, my sheets are all nice, and I'm feeling like a glazed donut, for lack of a better way to put it. Like I just feel so good. And then when I wake up, I feel better. I feel refreshed. I feel put together. It makes my morning routine a little bit more streamlined. So the extra 10 minutes in the evening, I guess that's a bunch of micro habits all in one. It makes such a big difference. If you only had to choose one of these things, I'd recommend that you lotion your body, because lotioning your body just feels so luxurious. And yeah, it makes a big difference in how you feel about yourself. So those are my micro habits. To recap, romanticizing your coffee routine. If you don't have an at-home coffee routine that you really like make that a Q2 goal, because having a routine that I like at home, I love it. Like, if you know, you know. My morning content hours, so taking a little bit of time in the morning to structure the first 30 minutes to hour of your day, a system, routine that you follow every morning to sort of like turn the workday on. My little to-do list to help brain dump and like map out my content planning and whatnot. A nice long walk, and then my evening self-care routine, specifically taking the extra 10 minutes for all of the little things that make a big difference in how you feel, how you present, and just will overarchingly make you feel good. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you have a micro habit or a little something that you do on the daily that helps you in one way or another, again, it can be routine focused, it can be work focused, it can be fitness focused, it can be food focused, let me know in the comments on Spotify or in a DM on my Instagram page. And thanks so much for listening, and I will catch you in the next one. Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to leave me a review. Make sure to follow me on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen. And if you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you next week.